Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Velma Talks for August the 17th and Saturday. I hope your day is going well. I am Dr. Velma Bagby. I am your host of the Dr. Velma Talks podcast. I am a best-selling Christian author, certified dating and relationship coach. I am a professional speaker as well as an ASA certified power speaker as well. I am a ordained minister and I am the CEO of adonipublishing LLC. But on top of all of that, I have been married for 50 blessed years, and I'm grateful to be able to share what I know, what I've experienced, what I'd like to share with both the male and female in terms of dating for marriage. And so that's what this is all about. This is your opportunity to get dating relationship advice as well as marriage support, because some of my topics and all of my topics really relate to marriage. How do you experience a long-term marriage such as the one that I've been blessed to have? You have to start by making sure that you do the work, put in the work in yourself. And so last week we had a great time sharing and talking about different aspects of what the Love is a Choice workbook goes into details about. So I want to share with you, first of all, let me mention the fact that all of my conversations are based on the writing that I've done in the book series, the Catch series. Now, you can get any one of those books on Amazon, or you can go to my website, drvelmabagby.com, and get the bundle or any one of those books. On top of the books, there are special marketing gifts that you can purchase as well, like the Wow Cup, the Woman of Worth. Um, there's a cup for men that's called She is My Crown and has the picture of a crown on the front, and as well as t-shirts, bookmarks, and I have a Book of Fools card game. If you'd like to spend some time, ladies, I know you do this more than the men, spend some time just hanging out with your friends. You want to have conversations around those scriptures that describe what a fool looks like and acts like. But the scriptures, the game, the card game includes scriptures that reference foolish women as well. So it's a wonderful way to have fun while at the same time learning something new, because I really suggest that that last book that I wrote in the Catch series, the Book of Fools, should be in everybody's toolbox, dating toolbox, because these are things that you need to recognize. And God has already provided you with descriptions and clues how to avoid dating or entertaining a person who fit these categories. So I think it would be great for you. So book one is The Catch No One Wants, and that's based on a father's interaction with his daughter, an intervention where he introduces fish characters based on the dating mistakes that she was making. But I want to bring your attention to something concerning their conversation towards the end. This is Pastor Grayson and his daughter Veronica. Pastor Grayson says, I want you to remember 3 points. This is him talking to his daughter at the end of their fishing trip. And he says to her, to help you on your journey, I have included homework to reinforce our weekend discussion. Don't laugh. Preparing for this fishing trip helped me to go back to the fundamentals of intentional dating principles. I have shared in my past classes and updated some of the material, as well as created new topics to focus on. Most of these changes were too many to include while fishing. The information you need is relevant, and I felt the perfect placement was to provide you more resources in your homework basket. I especially wanted additional information to help you grasp who God says you are and who you are to me. No man can call you outside of who you already know you are. Bug, which was his pet name for his daughter, you will need this help to move forward. Please remember these 3 points. 1, renew your commitment to God and seek his forgiveness. You want to establish your first love because he will remain your first love after your husband arrives. Your husband is second to God in your life. And because he is a man of faith, God will be his first love too. A man of faith knows and accepts he is second to God, just as you must accept being second to God in his life. Pray for God's wisdom to help you discover your mate. 2, I prepared a study guide, homework basket with questions, handouts, resources to help you reflect on what we discussed. My prayer is that you deal with your past hurts and disappointments so you can move forward without the weight of your past. But you cannot find the catch you deserve if the pain of your past occupies your heart. Pains of your past are weights, and you must lay aside every weight of those experiences that assume space in your heart and will cause you to filter a new, healthy relationship from a place of hurt. But also carrying those weights will cause you to repeat the same experiences. For this task, take your time and allow God to heal your heart. Release yourself and those involved. Let them know you want to be healthy and whole when your husband comes. I just wanted to share that excerpt with you because I introduced the Love is a Choice workbook during my conversation on August 3rd. And then on August 10th, we went into more detail, especially some of the questions that you're asked in the workbook. And I'm going to share with you a few other things, highlight a few other things with you, because I think what the Love is a Choice workbook does, as I mentioned, I give it to those I'm having conversations with, whether single or married, I give them to them, as well as the fact that I mentioned that my husband and I both went through the workbook ourselves when we hit a rough patch. And I think it's the perfect tool for you to use to really assess where you are and do the examination, because the book talks about self-examination, making sure, and he mentioned the scripture, Hebrews 12:1, to lay aside every weight. And it's important for you to do. And it's interesting to me, I've watched women put in a lot of work and effort in their branding, in their business, in their work, and all of the things they need to do. But this is an area we tend to not want to put in much work. And it's so important that you do. You have to do this self-examination, making sure that you're looking at who you are, where you are, what you have brought along from childhood to adulthood. That may need to be laid aside. Sometimes you don't know what it is until you really get into the details. The Love is a Choice has so many layers. I just want to highlight a few of them for you, and so that you can get an idea. When you look in the book, in the workbook, you won't need the book because the workbook does a deep dive. And I'm only touching upon the surface of some of the things that you have to look at, ponder, the other questionnaires, answer, fill in, and it really it really walks you through the steps you need to take, because there's layers to it all. I want you to understand, because we're talking about codependency, and I wanted to share something with you in the back of the book. Hold on just a moment. When it talks about your love tank, it talks about the many things that can affect how we love and how we can love inappropriately. It has a heart, and the heart has the different points that how codependency can affect us. It affects us by us pleasing others. Some people please others as their form of love. Then there's the money. We talked about the money last week, that how you spend your money will tell you what type of love tank you have or how empty your love tank may be. Work and food can do it too. It shows up, codependency shows up in those areas. Academics, how people use sexual and romantic conquests as their form of love. Athletics will do it. People who are overly focused on athletics. Perfectionism. If you are overly a perfectionist, professionalism that you take to the 10th degree is another indicator. All of these, handling money, all of these can tell you how codependency is showing up in your life. And I want to read a statement on the back of the book. It says, if these scenarios, talks about the scenarios, codependency relies on not only alcohol and drugs, which is what we assume codependency is, but here's the other things. money as well. Codependency relies on money. It shows up in how you work, how you eat, your food, sexuality, and any of these things that you use as a replacement to make yourself happy because your love tank is so empty. And so the book talks about how the love tank is empty and what we use to fill it up and how we have to really take a look at these things. I looked at the outline again, and I'm not sure we're going to go into another questionnaire because I don't want you to have to reveal to me your assessment. I want you to make this a personal thing between you, God, and these exercises, because God will lead you to discover some things that you need to lay aside. There are steps of forgiveness in this book. It walks you through taking the lid off of things that you may have hidden and didn't know that you had hidden them away. Then there's finding the lost kid. That's what it talks about. Because remember, as a child coming up, you don't know what the scripture says, and you don't know what you've done. You don't know how what was happening in your household has affected who you are now as an adult. How you handle anger. People always talk about people with anger issues, but how you handle anger could be a variety of things, and it goes into details. How you can apply false guilt or true guilt, and how it shows up, and where God fits in all of this. You have to look at that and determine how God fits in all of this. And some other things that it asks you to do. There's a chapter that will ask you to rate, and it tells you how to rate your mother and how to rate your father. You have to go in, and it's a true deep dive into who you are as a person and how your parents helped to develop that. And then it also looks at the effects of codependency in your family role. What was your role growing up? And I can give you 5 of them. I'm going to go to those in just a moment. But relationship history inventory part 1, and then there's a relationship history inventory part 2. So this is not something you can just go quickly through. You're going to have to take your time and really do a deep dive, following the instructions, taking the quizzes, and then looking at the results. A couple of things I found that I wanted to share with you from the book. Last week we talked about one of the quizzes. This was the second one, where it says the characteristics, looking at characteristics and categories. It was A through E, I believe, in terms of how you use money. I wanted to go back and share with you what the titles were with each of these categories. In category A, and you can go back to last week's episode to look at how we talked about it, that person who uses money in that way, that person in category A is called a hoarder. A hoarder is someone who probably is really rigid with their money. They don't spend much at all. And so it identifies your love tank and how you spend your money as a hoarder, that you hold on to almost every dime you get. Then category B, which is where I found myself, and I confess to all of you all. Category B is called the self-centered spender. That person has an empty love tank, which you try to fill with possessions you spend to make yourself happy. I remember that's the person who spends money on themselves. And I feel best. At times I spend money. One of the areas I found was at times I spend more money I have on myself and I feel guilty. This is not the one I was talking about, sorry. But that person is called the self-centered spender. That's category B. Category C is called the others-centered spender. That person spends most of their money and buys gifts constantly, buys things for other people. They're the others-centered spender. Category D was me. Question number 3 hit me when I went through this workbook. When I feel sad or depressed, I go shopping. This category, this person is called the compulsive spender. That's who I used to be. And they use excitement of shopping to fill their empty love tank. Because remember that statement, when I feel sad or depressed, I go shopping. I used to go and buy myself something. That's how I satisfied my empty love tank. So I used money as a natural high of exhilaration, not to that point, because I didn't binge, but I definitely went and bought myself into something to feel better. Category E, just want you to know these category titles. That person is called the prestige spender. That's the person who spends to make sure they had the stuff to show other people that they had. And that's how they feel their love tank. And so that's what that person did. They come to believe that their worth is equal to their bank account or their possessions, what they have, better than everybody else. That's the prestige spender. So I just wanted you to hear the titles of these different categories. That's that quiz that I did. The second one, I wanted you to know. Category A is the hoarder. Category B is the self-centered spender, only spends on themselves. That's it. And category C was the other-centered spender. Category D was the compulsive spender who spent on themselves to make themselves happy. And then category E was the prestige spender who purchased things just to show off and make sure everybody gets to see that they have something better than them. So that's why they spend. That's why they show off what they wear, what they bought, what they recently got. It's got to be flashy. It's got to be better than everyone else. Okay, here's something I want you to see. And I want to make sure I'm keeping up with my time. So let's make sure we're staying on course here. Let's look at something in the book I wanted you to know. We talked about Hebrews 12:1. We talked about your relationship with your parents, that God, the one commandment with a promise, that God says if you honor your father and your mother, that your days will be long. That's the promise. And it will be well with you. So later on in life, things will be well. But if it's not well, it's something you need to be aware of. And again, I talked about the fact that we don't know as children what we do and why we do it, but it does not cancel out the scriptures. The book goes into more detail about different kinds of abuse for you to explore, but I want you to see something regarding the relationship history inventory, because in one particular case, it has us to look at codependency based on our role in the family. This is really interesting. So let me tell you about the hero. And I'm not going to ask the questions because, again, I want you to get the book and make sure you go through it again. For those of you who are single or married, this is a great book for you to have, great tool for you to have. I said the Book of Fools is a great book to have in your dating toolbox. But when you talk about self-examination and preparation, it's important for you to have this. And whether you're already married or not, it's a great tool to have to do this examination. These are Christian psychologists, and many of the scriptures they share is important for you to know. They describe the hero in the family. If you were the hero in the family, you were the very responsible child. You took up the slack for the parents. You were very driven, even in school, always having to get straight A's and making sure you achieved the best as you could. And then you received a great deal of praise from teachers and coaches and pastors and tried to keep that current because that was the kind of thing that filled your love tank. And so this is the hero. Some psychologists say that usually this is the oldest person, but not always. The hero of the family does not receive adequate praise from the family about the things that he or she does. But the hero's responsible personality is rewarded in social and school environments. So that's the hero. Let's look at the scapegoat in the family. The scapegoat, the parents says that their parents blame them for the problems in the family. Many times, my problems were the center of attention while my parents' dysfunctional problems were ignored. Most of the family members saw that person as a source of pain. They received the most negative attention in the family, and they were frequently in trouble with teachers and other authorities. That's the scapegoat. The scapegoat receives negative attention for rebellious and even destructive behavior. The negative attention may ironically reinforce the undesirable behavior. Scapegoats may be blamed for many of the family's problems, and their behavior creates an ongoing diversion. Here's the mascot. The mascot, they didn't let the family problems get to them. They usually laughed them away. As long as they could make a joke, they knew the family would be okay after all. They're good at forgetting the pain from their childhood. They were considered the baby of the family, and it was assumed that they would never grow up. So this mascot earns attention by grabbing it. The mascot, this person dissolves problems and pain with a joke. The mascot finds the best way to deal with the dysfunction in the family, and they feel that distracting the family from distressing issues was the way to go. The mascot may be the only safe person on whom the other family members may show their affection. Then there's the lost child in the family. The lost child is the person that says this: I caused hardly any problems. I always preferred to be by myself. My parents have said of me, I was never a problem. I like playing or reading alone. I thought that if I could disappear from the family pain, that pain could not touch or hurt me. That's the lost child. The lost child is usually unnoticed. The person prefers to be alone and escapes the pain of dysfunction in the family by trying to get along and staying out of everyone's way. The lost child is nice, constantly unbearably, doggedly nice. The lost child also expresses difficulty with bonding into adult intimacy and may lack the skills of conflict resolution and needs expression. But that's the lost child. So I want you to see how all of these things, and I don't want to do a lot in the book because it's important for you to do that. You can see why Grayson mentioned this book and provided one to his daughter with all the mistakes that she was making, with her poor dating habits, just in a hurry to find a husband, not really considering if she's even ready to be a wife. And isn't that the problem today? Everybody wants to get married, but is doing nothing to get themselves ready to be the wife they need to be. And then there's the men who want to be married and doing nothing to get themselves ready. And therein lies the problem. And that's why the strategy for dating to marry is so different from high school dating. High school dating, I love you, you're so cute, let's get married. Anybody can get married. But if you're looking to create a long-term marriage, a healthy marriage with the person that you feel that you can, is the person that God is sending to you, then you want to be the best you can be, the best version of yourself. So even if you're single right now, this is the best time for you to put in the work and do what you need to do to get ready for the man of God that he has for you. And be the best. It's like being in love and you want to give your best to the person you're in love with. But isn't that what you want when God sends that person to you? You want to give your best. And so it doesn't matter what stage you're at. Maybe you're not single and you're already married. So you still have work to do. You could still get the information and get the book and work on those areas, even some of the ones that I may have mentioned that might, you may have said, that's me. We are constantly growing and developing. That's just our walk as believers. God is always revealing to us something that we can do to create a better version of ourselves. As we apply the scripture to our lives, it helps us to improve who we are, helps us to grow and develop and grow stronger in him. That's what studying the word does. That's also what doing self-examination does for you, especially as a believer. I've met many people pleasers. I wrote about it. There's a character in the Blue Book that talks about a people pleaser, except in this particular case, this lady learns to use it for bad. She goes into a relationship and uses her people pleasing skills for her own gain. So she manipulates the relationship. There are all kinds of characters in the book that's born out of some of the things I've seen, some of the poor choices I've watched. And even as I talk about the love as a choice, I watch how people respond to it. I watch how people responded to the questions I shared with you last week. You don't have to post anything online. You can send me a message, but I can tell when a person is in denial. The book talks about denial and how people deny the errors in their life or the mistakes that they need to correct. So that's my story today. I wanted to share what Grayson told his daughter. He showed his daughter Grace in the story of the very first book, The Catch No One Wants. And the reason it's called that is because the man that God had for her, she ignored him, didn't want him, judged him because of the type of work he did. And that's the reason we talk a lot about looking at the heart and getting to the quality characteristics of the person rather than focusing on conditions. If you're looking at conditions, then you're looking at the wrong things, and it's not going to help you get to know that person. Even God says he looks at the heart. He gets to the core of who that person really is. That's why he chose David. So I want you to know that that's our story today. Continue to work on codependency issues. It's part of your self-examination, getting yourself ready for the man of God has for you. And if you're already in a marriage, just like I was, when we hit the rough patch, we got into the Love is a Choice Workbook, and that's what pulled us out. We recognize what we drugged into the marriage from childhood. So don't you wait. Put in the work now. You really want that husband? You really believe God is sending him to you? Or guys, you really believe God is going to send you that woman of God that you need by your side, that will compliment you and be there with you? Then put in the work and you'll recognize her and you'll be so happy you did. God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in. I just want to share a couple of things with you. Remember to go to my website so that you can look at some of the other products that's been created to support the message. I will be adding more, and soon we'll be adding more on Amazon as well. So some have asked about the questions. I have them. They will be a PDF and will be on my website as well as on Amazon. I will be adding that. And I promised the marriage couples the last 5 minutes. So let me just say to all of you, I touched upon what you need to know. The Love is a Choice Workbook is the book you need, and it will help you do what you need to do. Some people don't like to go back and uncover. Look, I share with you what I had to do. I know exactly who I was as a child growing up. The book helped me to identify it. It also helped me to understand why I became who I am right now. Why am I a coach? When you get the book, you'll see why. It came from my growing up to this point. I also want you to know that it's important for you to do the work. God will honor what you're doing and will bless you because of it, because you are learning how to lay aside the weight, and that's what you need to do. So also, I want to make sure that I share that I am going to be adding a little segment at the end where I'm promoting and sharing something that someone has sent to me that wants it promoted. And if you're interested, there's a small fee for that. But today I want to share with you something that's really special. ESP presents Ellen Sutter is offering book marketing packages, the gold, the platinum, and the diamond. I will post a copy of the graphic in the comments. If you want a copy emailed to you, please email me at adonipublishing@gmail, and I'll send you a copy. And she's offering her book marketing appointments for September and October for only a deposit of $75. It's normally $135. I've been on her program and I loved it, both Instagram and the personal interview. She says that it will include a one-day show, honest written book review, and she will email you the dates to choose from. And please be aware that there are no refunds, but you can reschedule if you have a conflict after scheduling with her. So I will post the graphic in the comment section. But this is important. I took advantage of it, and I hope you'll take advantage too. This is by ESP Presents, and you will love working with Miss Ellen Sutter. That's all for today. I thank you all for this time. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Dr. Velma Talks. Have a wonderful day.